The gavel cracked like a gunshot in the stale air of the Manhattan courtroom, sealing my fate with a single, merciless blow. Guilty, the judge intoned, his voice flat as the Hudson on a dead winter day. While across the room, Alexander Hale's lips curled into that predatory smile, the one that said he'd just gutted me alive and called it justice. I lunged forward, chains rattling on my wrists, screaming his name like a curse. "You fucking liar! Hale, this isn't over, you'll burn for this." But it was over. And as the bailiffs dragged me away, his eyes met mine one last time, cold as steel, promising nothing but oblivion. 3 years later, in the fluorescent hell of a Brooklyn hospital ward, I stood frozen at his bedside, staring at the man who'd ruined my life. Alexander Hale, golden boy of Wall Street law firms, lay there hooked to machines, his once impeccable suit rumpled, a bandage swathing his head from a car wreck that had erased everything, his cases, his conquests, his venom for me. The doctor cleared his throat. "Mr. Hale believes you're his fiancé, Thomas. Retrograde amnesia. He's convinced you two have been together for years. Pushing him could shatter what's left of his mind." I laughed then, a bitter bark that echoed off the sterile walls. Because fate had a sick sense of humor. The lawyer who'd sued me into prison for a crime I didn't commit now thought I was his salvation. And God help me, in that vulnerable haze of his gaze, something cracked open inside me, a chink in the armor I'd forged from rage and regret. I should have walked out. Should have spat in his face and let the nurses deal with his delusions. But as he stirred, murmuring my name like a prayer, "Thomas. Baby, is that you?" I felt the pull, that treacherous gravity of what? What if I played along? What if I made him love me? Just to watch it all crumble when the truth clawed its way back? Revenge. Served sweet and slow, in the bed we'd never shared. Instead, I leaned in, brushing a lock of his chestnut hair from his forehead, my voice steady as a lie. "Yeah, Alex. It's me. I'm here." The first weeks blurred into a fever dream of borrowed intimacy, piecing together a life that never was. Alex's penthouse overlooking the East River became our fragile stage. A glass and steel fortress where I played the doting partner, nursing him through headaches that came like thunderclaps, whispering fabrications to fill the voids in his memory. "Remember that trip to the Keys? You proposed on the beach at sunset, down on one knee with that ridiculous conch shell ring. I'd spin these tales over takeout Thai, watching his face light up, those sharp green eyes softening in a way I'd only seen in depositions, calculating, always calculating, until now. But beneath the act, resentment simmered like bad coffee left too long on the burner. Alex Hale had been the architect of my downfall, a hotshot litigator for a pharma giant. He'd buried me under perjured testimony and doctored evidence, painting me as the embezzler who'd siphoned funds from my own startup. I'd built Ecotech from nothing, a queer-owned app connecting LGBTQ+ freelancers in the gig economy, only for his clients to swoop in like vultures, accusing me of fraud to crush the competition. 18 months in Rikers had stripped me bare, friendships evaporated, my body scarred from fights I didn't start, my spirit hollowed out like a gutted fish. Coming out as gay in my 20s had been a quiet rebellion in conservative Ohio. Losing everything to a man like Alex? That was the real crucifixion. Yet here he was, fragile as a cracked eggshell, clinging to me like I was his anchor. "Thomas, I feel like I've lost so much, he'd confess one night, curled against my side on the leather couch, the city skyline a glittering lie beyond the windows. His hand traced lazy circles on my chest, innocent in intent but electric in effect, stirring embers I'd long thought extinguished. But with you, it doesn't scare me. You're my constant. I'd swallow the bile rising in my throat, force a smile, and kiss his temple. Always, babe, lies upon lies, but each one tasted less bitter, laced with an unwelcome tenderness. Alex in Amnesia was different, vulnerable, almost boyish, quoting poetry from dog-eared books he'd apparently loved in our phantom past. He'd cook disastrous breakfasts, burning toast while humming show tunes, his laughter a revelation, deep, unguarded, the kind that vibrated through you like bass from a Harlem jazz club. I hated how it thawed me, how his touch, casual brushes of fingers, the press of his thigh against mine during movie nights, ignited a hunger I'd suppressed behind bars, where vulnerability meant weakness. My own life was a ghost town. Released on a technicality after a pro bono lawyer unearthed the evidence tampering, I'd clawed back scraps, a dingy studio in Bushwick, freelance coding gigs that paid in ramen and regret. Friends? Scattered like ash. Family? My parents in Cleveland had washed their hands of the disgrace, their last words a Bible verse about thieves in the night. But Alex's world pulled me in, a siren call of luxury and longing. His firm had placed him on indefinite leave, and in the vacuum, I became his everything: therapist, lover in the stories we co-authored. One evening, as snow dusted the city like powdered sugar on a stale donut, we lay tangled in his king-sized bed, the sheets a battlefield of half-truths. He'd initiated the first real kiss that afternoon, tentative, seeking permission in my eyes. Tell me we're good, Thomas. Tell me this is real. And against every screaming instinct, I'd pulled him close, our mouths crashing like waves on a jagged shore. It was fire, his lips firm yet yielding, tasting of mint and desperation, his hands mapping my scars as if they were constellations. We moved slow at first, exploratory, bodies remembering a rhythm we'd never danced. When he gasped my name, arching beneath me, I saw it, not the shark who devoured me, but a man adrift, deserving of mercy I wasn't sure I could give. Afterward, spent in slick, he traced the faded tattoo on my ribs, a rainbow flag fractured by lightning. What's this from? He murmured, voice husky with afterglow. A promise I broke, I lied, heart pounding. The truth? It marked the night I'd come out, inked in a dive bar off Christopher Street, high on freedom and cheap whiskey. But you helped me heal it. He smiled, pulling me tighter. I love you, Thomas. More than the cases, the wins, all of it. The words landed like a punch, knocking the air from my lungs. From him. I held him as he slept, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, wondering if this was redemption or just another con. But cracks formed, subtle as hairline fractures in ice. Therapy sessions unearthed fragments, a deposition where he'd grilled a witness mercilessly, echoes of courtroom venom slipping into pillow talk. I dream of fighting, he'd say, brow furrowed. Like I'm always proving something. I'd deflect, spin more yarn about our idyllic life. But doubt crept in like fog off the river. What if he remembered? What if the man I was starting to crave emerged, fangs bared, and shattered this fragile piece? It came to a head on a crisp February morning, the kind where the city holds its breath before the thaw. Alex's phone buzzed incessantly, calls from his firm. Voicemails laced with urgency. I screened them, as always. But one slipped through, a colleague. Voice tinny over speaker. Alex, it's time to come back. That Ecotech case? The appeals board sniffing around. If Hale and Associates doesn't bury it for good, we're exposed. He froze mid-sip of coffee, mug hovering like a guillotine. Ecotech. Thomas? What is that? My blood turned to lead. Just an old startup? Nothing. But his eyes sharpened. That litigator's glint flickering back. No. I know that name. I sued them. The founder, some queer kid who stole everything. Good. The evidence was airtight. He went down hard. The room tilted. I gripped the counter, knuckles white. Alex. He blinked. Confusion warring with recognition. Wait. Thomas. Your last name. Riley. That's him. You're. Oh fuck. The mug shattered on the tile. Coffee blooming like blood. He staggered back, face draining of color. All this time? What the hell is this? Rage boiled up, hot and righteous. This is you? Alex. You built it. You destroyed me, 18 months in a cage because your pharma overlords wanted my code for pennies. And now you wake up thinking I'm your knight in shining armor. Poetic, isn't it? He collapsed into a chair, head in hands. I thought. The dreams, the feelings, they felt so real. Tears streaked his cheeks. But I was done with his frailty. Get out, he whispered. Thomas? Please, get out, I roared, slamming my fist on the table. You think you can play house with the man you ruined and then cry foul? I stayed. Alex. I could have left you rotting in that hospital, but I didn't. Because somewhere in this mess, I started to love you. The word choked me. Fuck it. You want the truth? I hated you. Every kiss was payback. Every night, a slow poison. He looked up. Shattered. But it wasn't just lies. I feel it. Feel what? Pity. I grabbed my jacket, storming toward the door. The city a blur of gray beyond. But at the threshold, his hand caught my wrist, desperate, pleading. Thomas, don't. We can fix this. I'll make it right. The firm, I can confess. Bury them instead. I yanked free, chest heaving. Too late for fairy tales. Counselor. The door slammed like final judgment, echoing my own as I fled into the biting wind. Heart a war zone of betrayal and what might have been. Weeks bled into a numb haze. I holed up in my Bushwick walk-up, coding through the nights, ignoring the voicemails, Alex's voice. Raw and relentless. Thomas, please, come back. I remember now. Everything. And it changes nothing. I love you. Bullshit. I told myself, deleting them like digital sins. But sleep evaded me. Haunted by ghosts, his laugh in the kitchen, The way his fingers knit with mine during walks in Central Park. The quiet confessions under starless skies. I'd built walls of fury, but he'd slipped through the mortar, exposing the boy who'd once believed in second chances. Meanwhile, the past clawed back. Reporters sniffed around Ecoteka's revival, my quiet reboot of the app, now bootstrapped from a community fund for queer entrepreneurs. Whispers of the old scandal resurfaced, sponsors pulling out, old wounds festering. And then, the letter from Hale and Associates, not a threat, but an offer. Full restitution, plus a public retraction. Signed by Alexander Hale, with a handwritten note, I was wrong. Let me prove it. I crumpled it, but it burned a hole in my pocket. Pride warred with pain. Could a man who'd wielded the law like a blade now wield it for healing? Or was this just another maneuver? Buying silence? The confrontation came unbidden, on a rainy April evening in Washington Square Park. I was feeding pigeons, lost in the patter of drops on cobblestones, when he appeared, umbrella in hand, suit traded for jeans and a hoodie, looking every bit the mortal stripped bare. Thomas, I stood, rain soaking through my shirt. What do you want? Alex? Absolution? He stepped closer, eyes stormy as the sky. No. You. The umbrella clattered to the ground. Forgotten. I remember the crash, the icy bridge, to spin. But before that, the deposition. Your face when the verdict hit. I told myself it was justice, but it was fear. Fear of what you represented. A kid like me, out and unapologetic, building something real while I chased billable hours for soulless suits. I scoffed, but it rang hollow. Self-pity doesn't erase Rikers. It shouldn't. But neither should it erase us. He closed the distance, rain mingling with the tears tracking his face. I went back to the firm. Resigned. Handed over the files, the real ones. Your name's cleared, Thomas. Officially. And me? I'm starting over. Pro bono. For folks like you. Queers the system chewed up. The words hung heavy. A lifeline or a noose. Why? I demanded. Voice cracking. After everything, because losing you the first time, that was the real wreck. His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing my lip, and in that touch, the floodgates broke. I surged forward, kissing him fierce and unforgiving, all the fury and fire we'd bottled exploding in the downpour. He tasted like regret and rain, pulling me under until I couldn't tell where hate ended and need began. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed. This doesn't fix it, I whispered. I know. His smile was tentative, born of hard-won grace. But it's a start. If you'll have me. The park emptied around us, lovers and loners scattering like leaves, leaving two men adrift in the deluge, flawed, fractured, but reaching. I took his hand, interlacing our fingers, the scars on my knuckles brushing his smooth skin. One day at a time. Counselor, he nodded, squeezing tight. One day, in the months that followed, we rebuilt, not on illusions, but on the raw edges of truth. Alex's therapy unearthed more than memories. The closeted boy from Connecticut suburbs. Law school a shield against his own desires. Suing me a projection of self-loathing. We'd argue late into the nights, over takeout in his now our loft, dissecting the wreckage. His apologies a litany I'd once craved. "I see it now," he'd say, tracing my tattoos. "You weren't the thief. I was stealing futures to pad my ego." I'd counter with my own shadows, the bitterness that had nearly poisoned us both. The way I'd weaponized his vulnerability. "I stayed for revenge," I'd admit, voice low. "But I left for love. And love it became. Tentative at first, then fierce, a romance forged in the crucible of American grit. Where second acts aren't scripted but scrapped for in back alleys and boardrooms." We launched Ecotech 2.0 together, his legal savvy shielding my code from corporate wolves, turning it into a beacon for marginalized makers. Protests in the village. Pride floats on Fifth Avenue, we marched hand in hand. His kiss under fireworks, a quiet fuck you to the world that had tried to break us. But scars linger, as they do in this city of concrete dreams. Nightmares still wake me. Chains rattling phantom, Alex flinches at gavels on TV. Yet in the quiet hours, when the skyline hums like a lullaby, we hold each other, two survivors, queer and unbowed, rewriting the verdict on our hearts. One autumn dawn, as leaves carpeted the high line, Alex dropped to one knee, not with a conch, but a simple band etched with lightning-cracked rainbows. "Thomas Riley," he said, voice steady as oath, "you sued my soul and won. Marry me?" Tears blurred the city haze. "Only if you promise to lose more than your memory next time." To that deep rumble I lived for, sliding the ring home. Deal. And in that moment, under a sky vast as forgiveness, I knew we'd lost everything once. But together, we'd found more, a love human, message, profoundly ours. The kind that doesn't erase the pain, but builds beside it, brick by defiant brick. The wedding was small. A rooftop affair in Williamsburg with fairy lights strung like captured stars and a playlist heavy on Springsteen and Hozier, raw anthems for souls who'd scraped bottom. My brother showed up from Cleveland, awkward in his ill-fitting suit, mumbling a half apology from mom and dad. They say congrats? In their way. Alex's family? Absent? Ghosts from Greenwich Estates who couldn't stomach a son loving a man, let alone one with my rap sheet. But our people filled the gaps. Queer coders from Ecotech, drag queens who'd mentored me post-prison, a therapist who'd glued our fractures with tough love. Vows exchanged with the skyline as witness, mine fierce, his tender, sealing us in sweat and salt air. Honeymoon in Provincetown, that crooked finger of Cape Cod where the world tilts queer and kind. We biked dunes at dawn, sand caking our calves, laughing till breathless as waves licked our toes. Nights in a weathered inn, bodies entwined under quilts that smelled of salt and secrets, exploring each other like uncharted maps. "Here," he'd murmur, kissing a scar on my hip from a Riker's shiv. "This one's mine to mend." I traced the faint line on his temple from the crash, whispering, "And this? Proof life's got a twisted sense of mercy. But mercy has teeth." Back in the city, the backlash bit hard. Alex's resignation leaked, headlines screaming, "Disgraced litigator comes out. Betrays firm in queer scandal." Trolls swarmed our feeds, slurs carved into digital stone. Death threats pinging like shrapnel. Ecotech's servers buckled under DDoS attacks from pharmabots. Sponsors fleeing like rats from a blaze. "It's them," Alex growled one night, hunched over his laptop in the dim glow, fingers flying across keys. Retaliation. They're painting me as the villain who flipped for a payout. I paced the loft, fists clenched. And me? Collateral damage. Again. The old rage flared. Hot and familiar, but laced now with our shared stake. We'd built this life on the razor's edge, his confession to the Bar Association a ticking bomb. My past a specter that never fully exorcised. He stood, pulling me into his arms, heartbeat a steady drum against my chest. Not damage. You're the reason I fight clean now. His kiss was anchor, grounding me in the storm. But doubt whispered, was this love? Or just penance? The real fracture came from within. Insidious as rust. Alex dove into pro bono work, championing cases for trans youth evicted by bigoted landlords, immigrants snared in icy nets. I'd watch him leave at dawn, tie crisp, eyes alight with purpose, the man I'd fallen for reborn. But envy gnawed, my days chained to code, debugging algorithms while he stormed courtrooms, wielding words like weapons I'd once feared. You're the hero, I tease over dinner, but it's stuck in my throat, bitter as unswallowed pride. One case gutted him, a kid named Jamie, barely 20, suing his evangelical parents for conversion therapy scars. Alex poured everything in, nights drafting briefs till his eyes bled red, weekends in depositions that left him hollowed. They're monsters, he'd rant, pacing our bedroom, shirt on, hair wild, quoting Leviticus like it's law, while their son's arms are a roadmap of razor burns. I'd hold him then, murmuring comforts, but inside, the chasm widened. My own family rift loomed large, parents who'd prayed away my sin, disowning me post-trial like I was a stain on their pew. You get it, I'd say. But he didn't. Not fully, his wounds were fresh. Mine calcified. Sex became our refuge. Urgent and unspoken, his body over mine. Thrusts like arguments unresolved. Gasps chasing away the ghosts. Yet even there, climax left an aftertaste of isolation. It peaked in July. Humidity thick as regret, during a heat wave that turned the city into a skillet. Alex won Jamie's case, landmark. Splashed across the Times, ex-litigator secures justice for abuse survivor. Celebrations at a dive in the East Village, shots of Jameson, toasts to taking back the bench. I nursed a beer in the corner, pride warring with the worm in my gut. He was electric, holding court with activists, his laugh cutting through the din like a blade. Then, a face from the past, Elena Vasquez, junior partner at his old firm, all sharp bob and sharper suit, sidling up with a flute of champagne. Alex Hale, the prodigal son. Slumming it for the rainbow flag now, her smile was serpent sweet, but her eyes raked him, hungry, appraising. She stiffened, but played it cool. Elena. Water under the bridge. She laughed, low and throaty. Is it? We miss you. The partners, they talk about that ecotech mess. Say you folded for personal reasons. Her gaze flicked to me, dismissive. But hey, if domestic bliss pays the bills. I excused myself to the bar, pulse thundering, but overheard the rest, her murmur. Remember Monaco? That sweet. The way you. The pint shattered in my grip, foam bubbling like blood. Monaco. Prius, a fling, casual as a deposition. But in my jealous haze, It bloomed monstrous, betrayal, fresh as the day he'd sued me. Confrontation exploded back home. Cab ride a minefield of silence. Who the fuck was that? I demanded, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. Alex blinked. Ty ask you. Elena? Old colleague. Nothing. Nothing? She mentions Monaco like it's foreplay. You two fucked? Didn't you? While I was rotting in a cell you put me in. His face crumpled. Realization dawning. Thomas. That was years ago. Before the trial. Before. Good. Before I even knew you beyond files. He reached for me. But I recoiled. It meant nothing. She's poison, trying to rattle me. Make me doubt the case. Doubt? Or regret? The words lashed out. Venom-eyed hoarded. You think one win erases it? You're still that shark. Alex, chumming waters for scraps? Whether it's briefs or bodies. He reeled as if slapped. Is that what you see? After everything, the restitution, the ring. The nights I hold you when the nightmares come? Tears welled. But anger edged his voice. Maybe you're the one projecting. Stuck in victim mode. Waiting for me to fail so you can say, I told you so. The loft felt cavernous. Our words ricocheting off steel beams. Fuck you, I spat. Grabbing keys. Go chase your justice. I'll code mine alone. I crashed at a friend's in bed, Stewie. The argument replaying like a bad loop. Pride kept me away, texts unread, calls to voicemail. But solitude amplified the ache. His scent on my skin faded, replaced by the sterile bite of regret. Elena's words festered. What if he did miss it? The power? The prestige? The ease of closets? The weekend? Jamie called, the kid from the case. Voice trembling over the line. Mr. Riley? Alex. He's not okay. Hasn't eaten. Barely sleeps. Says it's his fault. That he should have told you about Monaco sooner. But it's more, he's spiraling. Talking about the crash like it's punishment. Guilt twisted like a knife. I drove through midnight rain. Wipers slashing shadows. Heart a drumbeat of dread. The loft was tomb dark. Alex silhouetted by the window. Scotch in hand. Bottle half gone. You came back, he slurred. Not turning. Not for you. For us. I crossed the room, resting the glass away. Talk to me. All of it. He deflated, sinking to the floor, pulling me down with him. Words tumbled, Monaco a one-night blur. Regret instant, the trial. Not malice but ambition blinding him to my innocence, the crash. A divine reset he'd squandered by not confessing sooner. I betrayed you before we met, he wept. Face buried in my neck. And now? I'm terrified I'll do it again, by loving you too much. Or not enough. I held him. The dam breaking on my own tears. We're both fucked up. Alex. Me with my grudges. You with your ghosts. But running? That's the real betrayal. Dawn crept in. Gray and forgiving. As we stripped bare, not just clothes, but pretenses. Lovemaking slow. Reverent. Hands mapping apologies on skin. I choose you, he breathed against my throat. Every scar. Every fight. And I choose messy, I replied. Fingers in his hair. Yours and mine. Healing wasn't linear, therapy doubled. Fights flared like summer storms, but we weathered them. roots entwining deeper. Heck thrived. A queer fortress in the digital wilds. With Alex as board counsel. His wins now ours. Elena? Sidelined. Her barbs dulled by our unity. In the end, love proved the ultimate appeal, not flawless, but fiercely human. A verdict we wrote together, page by defiant page. Autumn deepened into winter's iron grip, the city layering itself in frost like armor against the chill. Our life settled into a rhythm, cautious, resilient, the kind earned through frostbite and fire. Mornings, coffee brewed strong. Alex scrolling case files while I debugged code. Our knees brushing under the island like silent vows. Evenings, walks along the promenade. Hands pocketed against the wind. Sharing dreams deferred. A clinic for underserved queer families. Mine. Scaling ecotech nationwide. A network stitching communities from coast to coast. But beneath the thaw, tremors lingered. Alex's bar hearing loomed. A specter in starched collars and oak panels, a reckoning for his ethical lapses in my case. "They'll suspend me," he confided one night, staring at the river's black ribbon from our balcony. "Maybe disbar." End of the line. I slid behind him, arms circling his waist, chin on his shoulder. Then we pivot. "You've got skills beyond gavels, advocacy, writing briefs for NGOs. Teach at NYU. Mold the next wave." He leaned back, body yielding. Optimist. "What if it's not enough? What if I drag you down with me?" The question hung, laced with old poisons. I turned him, cupping his face, stubble rough under my palms. "You've dragged me up, Alex. From ashes." This, just another ring in the tree. His kiss was gratitude, deep and devouring. But sleep that night was fitful. Dreams of chains and courtrooms tangling my sheets. The hearing was a circus, downtown federal building. Reporters clustered like flies on honey. Flashbulbs popping as we entered hand in hand. Alex in his best navy suit. Me in leather jacket and jeans. A deliberate fuck you to the suits who judged me once. Inside, the panel droned, ethics violations, conflict of interest, perjury suborned. Evidence mounted like a noose, emails, transcripts, my own affidavit detailing the frame job. Alex testified last, voice steady as he owned it all. I was complicit in a grave injustice. Ambition blinded me to a man's humanity, Thomas Riley, who built from nothing, only to have it stripped by greed I served. His gaze found mine across the room, unflinching. Losing my memory was a curse and a gift. It showed me love's true face. I stand here not for absolution, but accountability. The room hummed, murmurs rippling. Elena testified too, called by the bar. Her words honeyed venom. Alex was brilliant. But his personal distractions compromised judgment. That affair with Mr. Riley? Convenient timing. I surged to my feet, but Alex's hand on my arm stayed me. His rebuttal sliced clean. Distractions? Elena. Your concerns reek of the firm's playbook. Smear the queer man to protect profits. Thomas and I? We found each other after the damage you'd all wrought. The panel deliberated in chambers, hours stretching like taffy. We waited in a side room, tension coiling tight. If it's over, he said, thumb tracing my wedding band, we start fresh. Portland, maybe rainy days, no ghosts, Or stay and haunt them back, I countered, pulling him into a fierce embrace. The door opened then, suspension, 6 months, with mandatory ethics training. No disbarmen. But survivable. Flashes blinded again. Mics thrust like spears. Mister. Is this redemption or romance? One shouted. He pulled me close, kissing my temple for the world. Both. And neither. It's life. The fallout was swift. Job offers from ACLU affiliates. Podcast invites dissecting the Hale confession. But privately, it scarred Alex withdrawing into books. Second-guessing every advice. Am I tainted? He'd ask. Mirror-reflected eyes hollow. You're human, I'd remind. Drawing him to bed. Body's a bomb. Lovemaking evolved too, less frantic, more meditative. Whispers weaving futures amid gasps. Here, I'd guide his hand to my heart. This beats for your mess. Yet betrayal's shadow stretched long. Whispers from his old circle, invitations to reconcile over scotch. Veiled offers to consult on pharma defenses. I caught one email. Deleted hastily, Alex. The partners miss your edge. One case. Off books, lucrative. Confrontations simmered low that night. Over stir-fry gone cold. You gonna bite? Beth. Fork stabbing broccoli like accusation. He said. Rubbing temples. Read that. It's nothing, fishing. But you're tempted. The words landed heavy. Truth's weight. His eyes flashed. Then fire. Tempted? By blood money? After I burned bridges for us. He shoved back. Chair scraping. You still see the monster? Don't you? No matter what I do. I stood. I see a man at a crossroads. Fin. And I'm terrified you'll choose wrong. Silence stretched. Brittle. Then. Softer. Thomas. Every choice since the crash has been you. But if you can't trust that. He trailed off. Grabbing coat. I need air. The door clicked shut, leaving me in echoes. Hours later, he returned, rain-soaked, envelope in hand. Burned it, he said, tossing matches on the table. Forwarded the thread to the bar. Let them sniff. Relief crashed, pulling us together in a tangle of wet clothes and whispered fears. I'm sorry, I murmured against his neck. Prison taught me suspicion's a survival skill. Hard to unlearn. He nodded. Fingers in my hair. And I learned late, love's not a verdict. It's the appeal that sticks. Winter yielded to spring's tentative bloom. Cherry blossoms dusting the park like confetti from a half-forgotten parade. We volunteered at a shelter upstate, Alex mediating family mediations. Me teaching coding to runaways, finding purpose in the frayed edges of others' lives. One kid, a wiry teen named Kai with eyes too old for his face, reminded me of pre-trial me, defiant, dreaming of escape. You too real? He asked one afternoon, watching us share a bench. Alex's head on my shoulder. As real as it gets, I replied, ruffling his hair. Kai nodded. Wise beyond. Good. World's short on that. His words lingered. A talisman. But trials never fully end, they metastasize. A letter arrived in May, from my parents. Postmarked Cleveland. Script shaky as autumn leaves. Thomas. We followed the news.
What?
The wedding. We were wrong. Church says forgive 70 times 7. Can we try? I stared at the page. Pulse erratic. Alex reading over my shoulder. What do you want? He asked softly. Forgiveness? Or just closure? I folded it, tucking away. Not yet. Maybe never. He squeezed my hand. Your call. But if you do, I'm there. Suits and all. The gesture cracked something, not walls, but the mortar between. We drove to Ohio unannounced. A pilgrimage in rental sedan. Hearts pounding like bass drops. The house was as I remembered, white clapboard. Cross gleaming on the lawn. Mom's roses defiant in the front bed. Dad answered. Face weathered. Eyes wary. Son. One word. And tears pricked. Inside. Awkward to. Mom's hands fluttering. We prayed. For guidance. Saw you on TV, strong? Have it. With him. Her gaze flicked to Alex. Tentative smile. Welcome. Talk flowed halting, my scars. Their regrets? Bible verses bent toward grace. No miracles. But a bridge, invitations to holidays. Tentative. Driving back. Skyline welcoming like an old friend. I exhaled. It's a start. Alex grinned. Hand on my thigh. Told you. Appeals work. Summer swelled. Humid and heady. Our anniversary marked with a weekend in the Hamptons, borrowed cottage. No pretensions. We swam naked at midnight. Moon silvering the waves. Bodies buoyant in salt embrace. 1 year, he toasted with cheap wine. Clinking bottles on the deck. Tus, flawed as fuck. But fighting. To appeals, I echoed. Pulling him down to blankets. Stars wheeling above as we lost ourselves in rhythm, slow builds. Crescendo cries. Afterglow confessions. I almost lost this, I admitted. Tracing his jaw. Doubting you. He kissed my knuckles. We both did. But here we are. Yet even idols fracture. Back home. A call shattered the haze. Elena again. This time with teeth. Alex. Your little stunt? It's costing us. But I've got dirt on Riley. Pretrial associates. Whispers of actual fraud. Drop the pro bono charade. Come back. Or it goes public. Rage ignited. But Alex's voice was ice. Threaten my husband? Good luck with the bar. Elena. And the Times, they love a good whistleblower sequel. He hung up. Face ashen. She's bluffing. But if not, then we fight. I pulled him close. Resolve stealing. Together. The storm broke weeks later. Her evidence leaked anonymously. Of course, fabricated ledgers painting me as the crook anew. Reporters swarmed. Ecotech stock dipped. Sponsors bolted. Paranoia clawed. Who else in his circle? That fragile bird. Fluttered wounded. Nights devolved to interrogations, me pacing. Him defensive. It's fallout? Thomas. From my exit. Or loose ends you didn't tie. The accusation slipped. Poison. He recoiled. After everything? You think I'd... I don't know. I shouted. Voice echoing. One email. Alex. That's all it takes. He stormed out. To the guest room, first time since the wedding. Morning brought silence. A chasm wider than the river. Mediation came via Jamie. Of all people, now interning at Alex's clinic. Eyes sharp. "You two idiots," he texted. "Coffee." Now. Over lattes in a midtown cafe. He laid it bare, love's not court. No cross-exams. Elena's desperate, firm's crumbling. Ethics probes incoming. She's lashing. Not leaking truth. Alex nodded. "Weird." "I know." "But Thomas," I said, reaching across. Scared. Of losing it all again. Jamie's grin was sly. "Then don't. Build bigger." We did. Press conference. Joint statement. Smears won't silence survivors. Evidence debunked. Elena indicted for forgery. Victory tasted sweet. But the rift lingered. A reminder, love's a daily deposition. Objections sustained only if voiced. By false turn. Weed mended, therapy a ritual. Date nights mandatory. One evening. Under harvest moon in Prospect Park. Alex knelt again, not proposal, but promise. "I vow to choose you." Every crossroads. I pulled him up. Kissing fierce. Ditto. Flaws and all. In that city's ceaseless pulse. We thrived, not perfect, but profoundly human. Our story a testament, betrayal's sting fades. But love's echo endures. The years unspooled like film reels. Each frame a negotiation between scar and salve. By our 5th anniversary, Ecotech had burgeoned, a colossus connecting queer creators from Seattle startups to Savannah collectives. Venture capital wary but bending under our unyielding light. Alex's suspension morphed into legend. He helmed a non-profit legal aid empire. Hale's Haven, bunkered in a Soho loft. Fighting evictions and adoptions with the ferocity once reserved for fortunes. We'd bought a brownstone in Fort Greene, creaky stairs. Garden plot for mom's roses transplanted from Ohio. Roots literal and figurative. Family mended unevenly, holidays in Cleveland now tradition. Dad's gruff hugs thawing to backslaps. Mom's casseroles laced with questions about the boys. "Solid?" she'd ask. Eyes hopeful. "Solid as Brooklyn bedrock," I'd reply. Alex chiming. With occasional quakes. But solidity's illusion. Life's undercurrents pull fierce. At 33. I felt the weight, tattoos fading. Lines etching laugh and cry alike. Alex? Ever the planner? Broached it one drizzly spring, kids. Not bio. But foster. Kai's out of the system now. But think of the Jamies waiting. But ghosts rising. My own fractured boyhood. Prison's echo warning against legacy's chains. What if we fuck it up? Pass on the brakes. He cupped my face. Green eyes steady. Then we fix it. Like us. The first placement shattered illusions. Twins. Mateo and Lucia. 6 years old. Yanked from a meth-addled home. Eyes wide as saucers. Trust a feral thing. Nights of nightmares. Days of defiance. Mateo hurling blocks at walls. Lucia clinging silent. Alex shone. Bedtime stories spun into shields. I faltered. Code abandoned for tantrums. Resentment bubbling. This is your crusade. Not mine. Fights flared domestic. Whispers escalating to shouts over Cheerio-strewn floors. You're checked out, he'd accuse. scooping Lucia mid-sob. And you're the saint? Forcing family like a verdict, I'd retort. Storming to the garden, dirt under nails as I yanked weeds like veins. Therapy unpacked it, my terror of repetition, his drive to atone. I sued innocence once, he confessed. Can't risk it again. I was innocence, I countered. And you saved me. But this, kids, it's rewriting my script without consent. The pause. Then co-write. Or walk. The ultimatum hung. But walking wasn't in us. We adapted, family therapy, playgroups in the park, nights tag-teaming bottles and books. Mateo warmed first. Fist bumps evolving to hugs. Lucia's silence bloomed words. T.O. Thomas a melody. One dawn, as sun gilded the kitchen, she climbed my lap, sticky fingers in my hair. Love you, she lisped. Something unlocked, tears hot, heart full. Alex watched from doorway, smile soft. See? Appeals granted. Parenthood reshaped us. Edges honed softer. Ecotech pivoted to family modules, resources for queer parents navigating systems rigged against them. Alex's haven expanded. Pro bono pods in every borough. Publicly, we were poster boys, TED Talks on redemption through relation, profiles in Out magazine gushing from courtroom foes to family men. Privately, the grind war, date night squeezed between PTA and depositions, sex stolen in laundry folds, exhaustion a thief. Anniversaries blurred, 10th marked with twins chaos, cake smeared on walls, our kiss tasting of frosting and fortitude. Betrayal revisited, sly as fog, not Alex, but the system. A Haven client, a trans dad named Reyes, lost custody to bigoted judges despite airtight briefs. Alex poured soul into appeal, weeks vanishing in legalese. I held fort solo, twins fevers, investor calls, resentment simmering anew. You're gone, I vented one midnight. Twins asleep upstairs. He rubbed eyes. Tie loosened. This is us, Thomas. The fight we started. Started? You sued me into it. The old wound tore. Blood fresh. He flinched. And I've bled for it since. If that's not enough, it is. But I'm tired, Alex, of being the steady one. Silence. Then arms around me. His whisper, then lean. I'll carry. Reyes won on retrial. A Pyrrhic victory with Alex's closing scarred by sobs. Homecoming, twins drawings taped to fridge. A banner, Daddy's hero. That night, after bedtime tales, we collapsed together, love-making tender. Rediscovery in familiar plains. His body a homecoming. We're enough, he murmured. But mess and miracles. Ages crept, 40s dawning with silver threads in my hair. Crow's feet framing his grin. Twins thrived. Mateo coding apps for eco-kids. Lucia advocating in school plays. Ohio visits swelled, grandkids in all but name. Mom's pride beaming. Yet mortality nipped heels. Alex's checkup yielded shadows, early prostate whispers. Scans pending. Routine, he waved off. But fear coiled. My hand in his during waits a lifeline. Clean bill. But the scare reframed, legacy not in briefs or bites, but breaths shared. We traveled, road trip Route 66. Diner pies and desert dawns. his head on my shoulder as canyons yawned. If tomorrow ends, he said one twilight, Vegas lights flickering distant, it's been epic. Don't jinx, I teased. Kissing knuckles. We've appeals left. Back east? We mentored, Kai. Now a lawyer in our mold. Interning at Haven, Jamie heading Ecotech as outreach. Pride that year. 40th wedding. Partnership milestone. We led the float. Twins waving flags. Confetti rain, a queer benediction. The final twist came quiet. Elena, broken by indictments, reached out, a letter. Not threat but plea. Ruin me. Hail. But watching you. Envy turned respect. Forgive. Alex showed me. Brow furrowed. Burn or bomb. I considered. Old fire banked. Reply. Crit. On our terms. His response, measured. Offering pro bono navigation for her appeals. No absolution, but a hand extended. You softy, I ribbed later. Wine loosening tongues. Learned from the best, he countered, pulling me close. Decades wove on. Brownstone sagging with stories, twins fledged to colleges. Returns for Thanksgiving's raucous. Wrinkles deepened, joints creaked, but morning still. Knees brushing, love's quiet pulse. On our golden 35th, Alex faltered first, memory slips. Not dramatic wipe but fades. Names evaporating like mist. Irony bit sweet, the lawyer who'd forgotten once. Now forgetting gently. Your name, he teased. Winking. Thomas fucking Riley, I'd growl. Kissing forehead. Husband. Hero. Caregiving reversed, me the steady. Him the vulnerable, but reciprocity's grace, baths shared. Stories retold. His hand in mine through scans confirming time's thief. Final spring. Cherry blossoms defiant. He slipped away in sleep, peaceful. Our bed a cradle. My arms his harbor. Grief tsunami, days blurred. Twins hovering. Haven eulogies flowing. But in the hollow, memories anchored, that hospital bed. His murmured, baby, rain-soaked park kiss, twins' first steps. His tears mirroring mine. I scattered ashes over the Hudson, his river, her vein, whispering. Appeal granted. Counselor. See you on the other side. Alone? No, legacy thrived. Ecotech Global. Haven a movement. Twins carrying torches. And me? Writing it down. Still. For whoever finds it, love's not absence of storm, but sailing through. Sails torn but true. In America's vast, bruised heart, where queers have always fought for dawn, we won. Not flawless, but forever human, etched in scars, sealed in stars.